Hey guys, it's Brian McComas here. I just want to post a video, and this is on the topic of Wing Chun. Wing Chun Kung Fu is very different from many other martial arts. I want to state that although I've called out a lot of fake martial artists, and there's people like Jake Mace on YouTube who claims to have studied like every single system you can even think of within Kung Fu and then outside of Kung Fu, who clearly hasn't. But I want to explain something that a lot of people don't get. And this is something that's very frustrating. 90% of the videos on YouTube that you see on YouTube when you type MMA versus Wing Chun or Wing Chun versus MMA, 90% of them are not even dealing with a Wing Chun practitioner. Let me repeat that. 90% of the YouTube videos that are titled something along the lines of MMA versus Wing Chun or Wing Chun versus MMA, 90% are not Wing Chun. Now on my channel, I have about 3 or 4 of these videos broken down that are titled MMA versus Wing Chun. I do have actual Wing Chun in those videos. But a lot of people don't understand what Wing Chun is. You guys think that Wing Chun is any time that somebody gets into a stance and puts both their hands out. That's what you think. But it's wrong. So let me explain something, okay? Wing Chun, every single technique or move is not a technique or move. It is a verb. Yes, you are learning a proper bone structure and stance and technique in the forms. But once you get the forms, these are verbs. These are about how you're doing the action, no matter what the action is. Are you defending? Are you attacking? This is why they say there is no defense in Wing Chun. Most of you have never even heard of that because the majority of people who are against Wing Chun and seem to be brainwashed by this MMA fanboy following, you guys pick out people and you say, oh, what about this guy? He's Wing Chun. No, he wasn't. No, he had no Wing Chun. One of the most famous cases is in one of the first UFCs. I think it was 1 or 2. They had a guy who claimed to be Wing Chun. And you can watch this video. Go watch the video of his fight. He literally does no Wing Chun. He gets into the ring, he bounces around, and he rushes the other guy and goes for a tackle to take him down to the ground. That is not Wing Chun. On top of that, when you look up the guy's name, I don't remember his name offhand. When you look him up, you can find absolutely nothing on him except for his UFC fight that one time. And then he disappeared, and for 20 years, he was gone. And then he relocated, I think it was somewhere in Thailand, and he showed up for like pictures and some martial arts expo thing, and then he disappeared. So this guy is literally like nowhere to be found. There's no biography on him other than what UFC tells you, and they tell you he's Wing Chun. When you study what UFC was originally about, it was about pushing out the brand of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and they did that now. They have pushed it out. It's a main martial arts now taken by a lot of people, and they don't understand the difference between Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and regular Jiu-Jitsu. And this is, I'm sorry to say, it's a mind fuck. Because original Japanese Jiu-Jitsu had 1,000 different things that you could do, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is very limited. Japanese Jiu-Jitsu has a rule of sacrifice throws, and most of you Brazilian Jiu-Jitsus don't even know what a sacrifice throw is. You can't even explain it. You can't, whatever. I'm not criticizing you. I'm pointing it out. Original Jiu-Jitsu taught that you don't sacrifice your balance and your situation and your standing and your grounding to take the other guy down, because when you do, it's called a sacrifice move or throw. Now, a sacrifice move is when you are throwing or taking down the other person and you've either taken one knee to the ground, so you've given up your position, or you're on the ground in any other way or form. So if I just grab a guy and I do what's called a backwards monkey throw, that's where you roll backwards, you put your foot high up into his chest, almost where his belt would be, like right around his stomach. You roll back. I would roll back on my back. He'd be over top of me, and then I kick at a certain angle, and the physics of it launches him about 20 feet probably behind me, and he's going to take a hard fall unless he knows how to row. That is a sacrifice throw. On the battlefield, the Japanese did not want their other warriors sacrificing their position and structure to take down somebody else. They would rather it just be straight combat. So in Jiu-Jitsu, yes, you are taught grappling, you are taught sacrifice moves, but you're taught not to do them. That's not your go-to. With Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's always the go-to. I don't care who you look at. Name any Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter out there who mainly uses that in their fights, and I will show you they do non-stop sacrifice moves because they're comfortable on the ground, and I get that. But in the real world, there's glass on the ground, there's rocks on the ground, there's the person you're fighting has a friend or family member. He's going to kick your skull in when you take him down to the ground. So original Jiu-Jitsu knew this. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu does not teach it. So just as confused as most BJJ people are to original real Jiu-Jitsu, that's the same aspect as a lot of these Wing Chun haters are to Wing Chun, because the Wing Chun haters have never sparred with a Wing Chun person. They have never went to a studio and actually, or a temple or a studio or anything, and taken Wing Chun classes to learn, which is what martial arts is all about. They don't have any respect. MMA, a lot of these MMA fanboys have zero respect for all the martial arts. Zero. They bash everything, and they have this low IQ mentality of assuming that one style beats another style, and that's not so. It's the human who beats the human. And you've got multiple legends saying this, such as Bruce Lee. You've got multiple legends and even people in Jiu-Jitsu who state that the well-trained warrior will defeat another warrior no matter what the style is. The difference is different martial arts styles take different approaches to different situations. Karate does not really have rules. Wing Chun has rules and principles. So this is why it's easy to call out Wing Chun. This is why it's easy for me to look at these videos and say that's not even Wing Chun. Because if I'm watching a 30-second clip or longer, and most of them are longer, whether the guy wins or loses, that doesn't matter. When he's fighting, I'm looking at each individual thing. How many Wing Chun principles did he follow? How many theories did he follow? How many did he break? And the majority of the time, they do not follow any principles. They don't follow any of the theories. Then they wonder why their Wing Chun can't work in a fight. Duh. And then on top of that, these guys, some of them are YouTubers. Some of them are very famous YouTubers to the point where I can't even call some of them out. And yet, if you look at their videos, they're openly admitting that their Wing Chun can't work in certain situations. Well, hello, it's because you're not doing certain principles. If you're shorter than the guy, and you're doing any kind of grappling, any kind of bridging, any chi style whatsoever, and you're going up to the bigger guy, then that's where your problem is. You're supposed to pull him down. This is literally a theory and a principle in Wing Chun, and yet you can see shorter guys who are apparently teaching Wing Chun, who are on YouTube, and they're not pulling the guy in and fighting him at their chest level. They're reaching up to fight him. So it doesn't matter how grounded they are, they're reaching up. That's two principles broken. When you're grounded, you're not supposed to be tippy-toed and pushing up. When you're grounded and rooted in your stance, you're down. And if you're shorter than the guy, you pull him down, okay? I don't care if he's 7 or 8 inches or even a foot taller than you. You pull him down to you, okay? If you can't understand that concept, then that's probably why your Wing Chun sucks, because you're failing on those principles. So 90% of these MMA versus Wing Chun fights, or these competitions and whatnot, I don't care where you get them from. I don't care if you're showing me stuff that's in China, in Thailand, or wherever. 90% of them, they're labeling some dude as Wing Chun when he's not. He's not. He's not Wing Chun at all. And then they go, he lost. No, the guy lost because he was a shitty fighter, okay? Wing Chun can lose, because if the guy doesn't know what he's doing, he can lose. That's the same for everybody in any martial arts. If you don't know what you're doing, and if you're not combat ready, you're going to lose, period. But we have this low IQ fanboy base that they aggravate the shit out of me. They're like, oh, that guy's Wing Chun. No, he's not. He's Taekwondo. Oh, that guy's Wing Chun. No, he's not. He was clearly doing karate. If the dude is not doing principles and theories, of Wing Chun in every single move he's doing, and at the same time he's breaking those principles and theories, then you can't tell me that if I'm watching a 5-minute fight of this dude doing 40 or 50 actions, and I'm pointing out all the breaking of the principles, the theories, the rules, you can't sit there and say, well, that's because it doesn't work. No, he's not using Wing Chun. Okay? If somebody is trained in Jiu-Jitsu and then they're also trained in Wing Chun and they fight a guy only using Jiu-Jitsu, you can't turn around and say, oh, well, the Wing Chun guy won. No, he won by using Jiu-Jitsu, and the same thing goes the opposite end. I'm trained in Jiu-Jitsu and I'm trained in Wing Chun. But a lot of these people don't understand. Wing Chun has principles and rules, and it's called the theories and principles. Yes, there's multiple different styles of Wing Chun, but the majority of them follow these same principles, these same rules, and they do the techniques a little different. They look a little different. Their stances might be a little different, but they're still following the principles and philosophies. At least they're trying to, okay? That's the difference. Karate, Taekwondo, Jiu-Jitsu, very few of them have rules. There are rules that was taught to me when I took Jiu-Jitsu that were like a Bushido code of the warrior fighting, not the slave mentality of how you are to act and react in society with your master, but the Bushido code on the principles. The sacrifice moves that I brought up earlier, that is literally a principle in Jiu-Jitsu, but in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they throw it out the window. So that's why I always say Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is Brazilian Judo. It's glorified Judo. That's all. It's not Jiu-Jitsu, it's Judo. Judo does not follow the sacrifice throw ideal or principle. Jiu-Jitsu does. So when you understand what Judo is and what Jiu-Jitsu is, and you look at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you clearly have to say it's Judo. It's not Jiu-Jitsu. I don't know why they use the Jiu-Jitsu label on it. But then again, I'm making a video about how 90% of YouTube's Wing Chun videos versus martial arts versus Taekwondo versus whoever aren't even really Wing Chun. These are people that don't know anything about Wing Chun, and they've gotten their hands on this video, and they've literally labeled it as, oh, this is a Wing Chun fighter. And you can see this happening because when you ask if the person who has it on their channel knows the people fighting, they always say no. They got it from somebody else. Well, duh. They've got somebody who's really, really bad at Muay Thai, and they're claiming he's Wing Chun. They got somebody who's really, really bad at Taekwondo, and they claim he's Wing Chun. Wing Chun has principles and rules, guys. And it's so retarded for people to sit there and bash Wing Chun, and then you sit there and you say, look at this guy, he's a Wing Chun fighter. No, he's not. No, he's not. He's not. He's not using Wing Chun. He's doing something else. I don't know what he's doing, but it's not Wing Chun, guys. So I just wanted to point that out. Wing Chun has principles, theories, and rules. I can't tell you how many times somebody who has more years than me in Wing Chun has commented, and I've looked at their videos, and I've seen where they're doing something wrong, and in their own videos they're saying that this doesn't work in this situation, and I'm like, hey, that's because you're not following this principle, do this principle. No, you're not doing it right. And then they comment back, oh my God, it works. Because now they're applying the principles. Wing Chun does work, guys. It's not meant to go against grappling. Wing Chun, so when you sit there and say grappling beats Wing Chun, yes. If you got a guy who only knows Wing Chun, and you got a guy who only knows grappling, and the grappler is able to get the Wing Chun guy on the ground, hello, now the Wing Chun guy is in his territory. It's not that that form or that style beats Wing Chun. It's just that he was able to get him into his house. If the grappler can't take the Wing Chun guy down, the Wing Chun guy's probably going to pummel his face. I see it all the time. Not on YouTube, of course. Of course, YouTube doesn't have these videos. YouTube is, I don't know what's going on. It's like people have this thing against Wing Chun, and they have to flood YouTube with fake stuff. And I don't understand it. I have a respect for all martial arts. I do. I don't sit there and call capoeira karate, because I know that the karate people are going to get aggravated, and I know the capoeira people are going to get aggravated. And if somebody who is really, really bad at karate loses in a fight, I don't sit there and say, oh, well, the capoeira guy lost. Capoeira sucks. No. Capoeira has its thing, and you have to be very athletic for that. It's not for me. It's not for a lot of people. You have to be very athletic for capoeira, but it can work. if you're very athletic and you take a lot of tumbling and you're very into that, it can work. But with that said, I don't call a capoeira fighter a taekwondo fighter or, Wing Chun or whatever. And for some reason within the MMO fanboy range, it's like they glorify these people and they glorify only Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. They don't pay any tribute to any other martial arts. Joe Rogan pays a lot of tribute to Taekwondo. And it's one of the small positives about him that I like. I don't like Joe Rogan, but I do like that he pays a lot of tribute to Taekwondo. But here's the thing. Taekwondo throughout history has always been known as the weaker martial arts because they only did so many things. It was 80% kicks. They only did so many things. When you go back to the 80s and the 90s, when you told somebody that you're taking Taekwondo, they were like, why are you wasting your time? Now, because we got all these Joe Rogan fanboys who are into the MMA, they're like, oh yeah, I love Taekwondo. No, you love a lot of things. You love the kicks. You love this, but you have not seen a Taekwondo practitioner go into a fight with somebody else. Because what Joe Rogan is doing is he's showing you a lot of karate moves and calling it Taekwondo. He's showing you Taekwondo, and then he's showing you a ton of his grappling. And you're confused. You don't understand. Taekwondo used to be laughed at so bad, and now it's like it's gained respect. What happened? So the martial arts community is just full of these fanboys, full of these keyboard warriors, full of these people that don't want to put in the blood, sweat, and the tears. You've got to do that, guys. I don't care what martial arts you're taking. You've got to be serious. You've got to train hard. That's what it's about. But with Wing Chun, there's a ton of principles and laws, ethics, codes, whatever you want to call it, theories. But these other martial arts don't have that. In karate, you don't literally have, there's not a written in stone principle that when you punch, you're a pull back and chamber. You're just taught that. That's the difference. Karate has a lot of chambering punches. Chambering, if you don't know, is when you're pulling your arm back after you've punched or before you punch. There's a lot of martial arts that don't do that. Karate pulls back. Taekwondo pulls back. They're heavily relying on strength. So, like, you don't have these principles. There's not a principle in karate that states something like, I don't know, that you're to have your elbow at a certain position when you're fighting a guy who's throwing left punches, okay? But in Wing Chun, there's tons of these principles. So, when I'm looking at YouTube videos, and I don't care who the fighter is, I don't care if he has a website and he's all about Wing Chun. If he's not doing Wing Chun in that fight, on that video, and I say, hey, he's broken principle after principle after principle, he's not even following any principles, then you can't call him a Wing Chun fighter, guys. This is getting stupid, and I'm just posting out this video because you guys who don't take Wing Chun and have never studied it, you don't realize how many rules there are. You don't realize that even just understanding the immovable elbow, you can tear apart a good 75% of these Wing Chun videos and say, that's not even Wing Chun. A good 75, just from understanding one principle. And then there's so many principles and so many theories and laws. And when you see a Wing Chun guy and he's on his tippy toes and he's bouncing up and he's going forward, but he's bouncing up and he's not rooted and he's not grounded, then you can sit there, and if you understand what rooting is and understand the principles of the stance, then you can say he's not doing Wing Chun, at least on his stance. But then when he's firing his arms out and he's throwing these chamber punches to the side like this and not with his elbow under, with his fist coming up, then you can sit there and say, well, that's also not Wing Chun. So where is he doing Wing Chun at, guys? He's not. He's not. So I just wanted to post this video because I'm getting a lot of heat because I'm calling out some of these jackasses. So, it's my rant.